Welcome to the Gabbin' and Games. It's a big fucking time of the year for games, and it's a big day. Let's start with... Well, let me go to the chat first. Well, I'm going to go to the chat first, see what you guys are up to. If you're listening to the show, if you're driving around, enjoying your goddamn cockadoodie life, I appreciate you being here and spending a little bit of time. There's the old Adam Sessler with your old Papa Jaffe, so thank you for that. And let me see what you guys are up to, and then we're going to jump in very, very quickly to the big news of the day. E3, Wolverine, Kajima, a couple pieces of news coming out about his game he premiered at Keighley's Awards a couple of nights ago. I also want to let you know, if you live in the wonderful state, I don't know if it's really wonderful, of Florida. I mean, there's good things about it, then it's also... Ron DeSantis lives there. But if you live in the Florida or you're in the South, our very own Day One Patch Kids, you can see behind me on the frame there, will be at the Rise of the Phoenix Comic and Toy Fest. He's going to have all of his swag and wares and cool shit to give away. Well, not give away, that's wrong, to sell. Sorry, Day One Patch Kids, to you guys and gals who are out there at this show. 16th of December, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Stop by and give him an old pickle tickle and tell him Papa Jaffe said hi. And swing by and see what he's got for you for Christmas. Okay. Let's see what the chat says for a couple of minutes, and we'll move the fuck on. Glad I can talk for free now, Jaffe, says Rio, because I didn't want to pay during the Game Awards stream to say, shh. Listen, bitch, anybody who comes to the Game Awards or any live stream that I do, and you are showing up because you actually, I mean, ask yourself what the point of that is. It's like, if you just want to watch the thing in pristine conditions, then go watch it on your TV, turn off the lights, put your headphones on. I respect that, but you don't go to somebody's fucking live stream and act, what are you talking? But it's good to see you, David Del Rio. And there actually is going to be coming up this week a show I'm doing where we're going to rewatch all the trailers that premiered at Keighley's show, because I was so fucking high, I don't remember any of them. I mean, I do, but I couldn't appreciate them. And I'm going to stream that, and members are going to be able to vote on 1 to 10 their excitement, and then we're going to tally it up at the end of the show and see which trailers have most people excited. So that'll be again in a couple of days. Six says, hey, oh, there's old Six. He says, Jaffe, did you see Godzilla -1? It was awesome. Everybody who has seen Godzilla -1 says it was absolutely fantastic. And no, I haven't. My son and I are going to go see it probably in the next week, but everybody says it's fucking great. David Lovitz, oh, here we go. Boss of Twisted Metal, what on earth could have been done to save the Twisted Metal or Drawn to Death multiplayer servers? People should have played them more and spent more money on it. But I mean, to be fair, to be perfectly fair as it relates to the Twisted Metal in 2012, I mean, that was, that was everybody at Sony and Eat Sleep Play's fault. I mean, as I've said before, we did not do a beta. I didn't know enough to push. I just said, we really should do a beta. Everybody does a beta. And I had really smart programmers saying, nope, we're going to be fine. And then we weren't, and we shat the bed. We would have been a much bigger hit if we could have dealt with that. Hey, there's Bukkake Drive-By. If you're around and you're able to jump in a couple minutes, I'll pull you in. Just put yourself in the waiting room, and we'll get Bukkake on the mic. All right. Let us talk about the news. That's how us classy folks say news. We have give it a little bit of a twist, of a classy twist. All right. First off, there's a bunch of games out today. All over the spectrum. There's nothing big out in terms of like, oh my God, it's brand new and we've never heard of it. But Jazzy John Romero has his next design game out, Sigil 2. They've done a really good job on this. Bethesda has it, so if you have Game Pass at least, and I guess if you bought it, you can do it there as well. But basically, they've got free add-ons on Doom 1 and 2. So if you own that or you have Game Pass, you don't have to do all the WAD downloading and putting it in the right folder. It just works, basically. And he's got his new game, the sequel to Sigil, Sigil 2, which is out. I tried to play it earlier today, and it's so antiquated because you can't, I forgot this in Doom, you can't look up. You can't you can fire up, like the game automatically just sort of gives you verticality. And that's okay when you're dealing with, when you're kind of dealing with, people who are not that much higher than you are. Sorry, fellas. But in Sigil 2, at least, I'm playing it and I've got these guys way up above me and I'm like, I just couldn't get my head around it. I also don't think there's a fucking jump button in Doom, right? So I'm sure it's great. People who've played it said it's great, but I need to spend a little bit more time acclimating to the situation. I'll tell you something else, which is coming out. Have I tried RoboCop, says DevKit. I played the demo and I enjoyed very much the demo to some extent, but I didn't feel like it was something I wanted to play, but people say it's really good. Sonic Dream Team came out a couple of days ago. Now listen, you guys, I'm going to do a video on this because you guys know I'm all over Apple Arcade. I'm not saying it should replace your PlayStation or Xbox or anything. It's a very different experience. But if you have Apple TV, you can play this on your phone as well, but it's an exclusive to Apple Arcade, which means there are no microtransactions, there's no ads, it's just a game. And even the games that used to have those things, when they put them on Apple Arcade, it'll cost you $6.99 a month. All that stuff gets pulled out and it's just a pure game. So they've got some excellent games going into the Christmas season. I played Sonic Dream Team for about 10 minutes and I realized, okay, I got to get a Bluetooth controller in the living room because I couldn't play it with touchscreen, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's, over the shoulder, you can control your camera. It's full 3D, but it's still kind of like, it's almost like imagine Crash Bandicoot with much wider, open, much wider paths, and then there's lots of branching. You can go wherever you want. It's fun. It's delightful. You're not going to sit there and go, it's game of the year, but it's pretty fucking good. So I highly recommend it if you have, the Apple TV. The Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hades clone on Apple Arcade, which I haven't played, is pretty damn good too, says Darth Nugget. Yeah. Look, man, I mean, let me tell you something. If you look at Apple Arcade and you look at obviously what Netflix is a brewing when it comes to all the big hitters, and they've announced a AAA game, they've got all their mobile shit, they're going to be streaming that shit soon, and then YouTube just started, it's in beta. I'm in the beta right now. YouTube allows you now, they have games that are like single screen. They're really fun and they just stream right to your phone or right to your TV. And I'm telling you something. It's the days of the arcade are back. It's pretty cool. Then of course, let me ask you guys in the chat this. I have not played this yet, but not the Lego Fortnite, but the racing. People say the racing mode that just came out a couple of days ago in the Fortnite from the guys who do Psyonix, the Rocket League fellas, is actually really fucking good. So let me know. I'm going to be playing it probably tonight or tomorrow. I really, really want to play it. Tomorrow, the company I work with that I adore, where did that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. The company I work with that I adore, Movie Games, has a new game, Drug Dealer Simulator 2, is out in early access tomorrow. I'll have some free codes to give away. It's co-op. We can play it together. DevKit says this game on the screen, though, the racing, the racing for Fortnite, he says he's played it. And it's very strategic. Interesting. Jojo D says, if it's good and free game night, could be. Yes, absolutely. So that's coming out. And then obviously, the biggest thing that's out today, for a lot of folks is, let me find it, is Ragnarok. Ragnarok DLC is out today. People who have played it, I want to say they've liked it. Like I definitely saw some people online and I saw some people in our very chat saying, boy, it's really fucking good. This is kind of the roguelite God of War. You can jump in at any time, even if you've not finished Ragnarok, like I certainly haven't. And so I am going to play it. I can tell you though, that I'm not like jumping out of my skin to play it. I'll play it because it feels like it's weird to have the shit I've done in my past when it relates to that franchise and also have this show and not have that frame of reference to talk with you guys about. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't care. But I hear it's good, and I'm looking forward to it. Mutant Mo says a lot of this shit is free. Merry Xmas to us gamers. Yeah, you got Valhalla today is free. There's New Game Plus and Alan Wake 2 and Assassin's Creed Mirage is free. Obviously, Fortnite is free. So yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. DevKit says the original God of War music is in the trailer. Well, one of the things I'm interested in is in the trailer of God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. Whew, that's a mouthful. That's what she said. Is the Greek mythology Cyclops comes roaring out of a tunnel. And I'm kind of going, wait a minute, are they bringing some Greek shit back? That's pretty fucking cool. So I'm excited. Bill Bone says regarding the DLC for God of War, he says, it's nice there's multiple difficulties and there's mastery challenge. Not even the team at Sony could be. That's the thing is like, I think I was a little turned off by what I've read since. I like roguelites, but I'm just like, one of my least favorite parts of Ragnarok was when the ground would kind of flame up and there would be like molten lava and you had to defeat those guys that came out of it. And I don't know what the win condition was, but it just felt like it was just like, do our combat. And I like the combat as it relates to the adventure you're on. But when it's clear, it's just like, this is a monster room that we're trying to get you to clear and to sort of squeeze more time out of the sponge. I started to get a little bored, but I'll give it a try. Listen to this though. Listen to this. Oh, and by the way, I do want to tell you, there was a brand new member to the Diet Soda Soldiers on the other chat, and I unfortunately cannot find who they are. So if you are watching this, and if you are that new member, allow me to say a couple things. Number one, how dare you goddamn right. Welcome to the Diet Soda Soldiers, and welcome to our little community. It's great to have you here. I don't know who you are, though. So please post now in this chat so I can give you a proper welcome. But here's what the God of War guys were saying. This was interesting. They were interviewed by IGN about this. This is the problem, by the way, that I have with Indiana Jones after Last Crusade. Although I will say I might be coming around to Dial of Destiny, watching it a second time on Disney. But this is the problem I have with it. Here's what they said. They were talking to one of the directors. I think is it Bruno? Who directed this thing? Yeah, Mahir Sheth and Bruno Velasquez. I can't say it. God damn it, Bruno, you son of a bitch. That's why we don't talk about him. Remember Encanto? Anyway, here's what Bruno says. He says, you could say that a lot of our projects and our games and the way we approach them kind of reflects a little bit about the studio's personalities and personal experiences. The previous games in the Greek era, perhaps that was our college years, and now we have all grown up and have families of our own. We try to reflect those personal experiences also through Kratos and through some of the other characters he interacts with. Now, I want to tell you something about this shit. I liked very much. I thought 2018 was great. Ragnarok, not my cup of tea. But this is the problem with Indiana Jones. I don't want these characters to grow. I don't give a fuck what you're going through at the studio. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. If you're going to build a brand new IP or you're going to build a character into the God of War lore and that character is struggling or dealing with your problems that a lot of you guys that have gotten older and girls at the studio have dealt with, that's wonderful. Do that shit all day long. But don't take the character Kratos or Indiana Jones and go, you know what? I'm Steven Spielberg. I'm older now and I'm really into family and I want to tell stories about fathers and sons and God. No, fuck you. That is not what this character is, whether it's Indy or whether it's the goddamn Kratos. Okay. I just stop. I get it. I don't know. It's just like someone needs to be able to tell these people no sometimes and say, look, we love that you're arty farty. We love that you're taking shit from your personal life. We love that you're treating the medium, and Sony always has, as an art form as well as a business. We get it. We love it. We support it. But somebody still needs to step up there and go, you need to do all that within the pin that we've put up a fence for you. And if you step outside, the electric shock collar is going to get you. You need to do all that within the pin that says this is what God of War is. This is what Indiana Jones is. And if you want to make something that's not that, that's cool. But don't fucking call it God of War and don't fucking call it Indiana Jones. That's all I would say. Everett says Kratos would just get boring. No, it wouldn't. Just Eddie T says Kratos is in the new game stressing over his 401k. That's right. Ravno says, I thought you liked Kratos except for the beard. I do like the first one that Corey did, but that was because it was so meta and so interesting and genuinely just so good that I was cool with it. But no, I don't like the direction that God of War is going in at all. Now, after seeing this particular Ragnarok, I'll play Valhalla. Maybe that'll turn me around. Ragnarok was I've said this many, many times. Ragnarok was a great game, wonderfully made, wonderfully produced, up and down all goddamn day. But it's not God of War. It's not, it's not for me. Let's put it that way. But if you dig it, you dig it. Good for you. But yeah, so Kratos would get boring, says Everett. Well, here's the thing about that. That's like saying James Bond will get boring or Spider-Man will get boring. Yes, I won't belabor the point, but I will tell you something. There was a time in my life in my 20s where I was seriously trying to figure out how to write comic books. And I went to the San Diego Comic-Con and I went to a panel with one of the best comic writers of the last 50 years, Mark Waid, who's done, Kingdom Come, and he's just a great superhero writer. And in the Q&A, I asked him, I said, I don't understand this though. All these writers say that your characters should arc and there should be change and all this shit. I said, but how do you do that with a franchise character? If Spider-Man at the end of your 24 pages goes from being, oh my God, I can't get my shit together in my personal life and my professional life as Spider-Man are always creating this conflict, which the reader loves. Are you going to say at the end of 24 pages, he's healed? And that's the thing. I could never figure it out, but some writers know how to do it where it can still be the character, but there's a little bit added every iteration that there's a growth, but it's very slow. But let me ask you this. If I came to you and pitched you the character Kratos from 2018's game and you had never heard of Kratos before, I don't know if you would go, that sounds like a great character. I think he's only great because of he's kind of, he shat the bed in his previous games in terms of as a person, and now he's coming around the mountain. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my take. That's my take. I think the character model for Atreus is most of the reason I don't like him, says Brett Moore. In the new one, the last two, yeah, Atreus, a lot of people, I was even listening to Gene at the Game Awards when this trailer dropped, and Gene Park was saying he didn't want Atreus. I think everybody, it's weird though. I don't think there's nobody complains when you're playing Ellie about Joel, or in the first game, nobody complained when you're Joel about playing Ellie, but a lot of people complain about Atreus. And I wonder, I like him. I liked him in Ragnarok. He was a cool character, but there's a consensus amongst a bunch of people that he's not very well loved. And I wonder what that is. Stoner Joe Production says, I'm only watching this to eat. Hey man, whatever brings your crazy ass to the table, sir, I appreciate. And, I love that you're here and love that you're part of our community. Bookster says, I hated Ellie in The Last of Us 1. I hate Atreus in God of War. I just hate children. That's fair. There should be like a introvert mode where all these companions just go away. Okay. Let's move on though, shall we? Let's talk about Wolverine. Speaking of Sony cinematic games, you guys saw this, right? You saw the leak that came out. A group of hackers who like to call themselves ransomware Ricida. I guess they're kind of nefarious. They hacked into the Insomniac computers. I don't know what they hacked in, the servers. And they pulled down a lot of shit. And they pulled down everything from people's passports to confidential information other than that, like where people live and documents and all this. And they dropped some screenshots from Wolverine, which is obviously very much still a work in progress. And they basically told Insomniac, they says, hey, look, man, if it turns out that you don't pay us $2 million, we're going to sell this to the highest bidder. And obviously, I hope Insomniac does not pay them $2 million, because all that's going to end up doing is convincing them to keep going. Now, again, I don't know what they have. Even if they leaked the entire, and I'm looking at this and it's all blurred out, so I'm going to show it to you. It's not going to, I would never give away anything or give away anything that would hurt the game that they haven't wanted to release yet. But this is out in the world. It's out in public. Sony, strangely, has not asked for it to be taken down. So here's what it looks like. Right now, all of this stuff is blurred out, so no one's going to get in trouble. You're not going to see anything, thank God. But there is some Wolverine stuff right there in the middle that you can see. It's, it's pretty hard to make out. And it's clearly early. It's a picture. If you're not watching your screen, it's Wolverine is standing in the middle of looks like a living room. And I don't know. It's all marked up with these yellow markings, and I don't know what the team is using that for. I don't know, like if it looks like there's like crayon and pen markings. There's pink and yellow and blue. And I'm assuming those are in orange. And I'm assuming that those are placeholders for either art that they know they want there, or maybe those are triggers in the environment. Like yellow means it's a breakable thing, and pink is a light sword. I don't know what these are. But here's Wolverine in sort of his classic outfit, and then you've got one where he's in the cowboy hat outside of a bar with his claws out. What's weird about this? Oh yeah, I thought about that. A cab says it's Wolverine sense. Yeah, I mean that was my first. Before I zoomed in, that was kind of my first take. That's what it was? But I don't know. I don't know. What's weird about superheroes, though, is that unless they fly or swing, this one's going to be interesting, because when they just walk around like in houses, there's if you think about comic books, every time you see a superhero, for the most part, that character is in some dynamic pose, mostly. And if you're actually playing the hero, it's like, let me walk from the bedroom out to the garage and let me go 2 houses down. And he's just this guy in this suit walking around. It just seems goofy. But I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to it. Prince Green says, Jeffy, I'm not a fan of the brown and black suit. Maybe an origin story. But what I notice is, the camera is close like God of War. Maybe it'll play like a God of War game. I look, man, like I've said before, I think the director of this game is the bee's knees. I'm excited to see what he does. I like the Wolverine character, and so I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, it is interesting the camera's that close. But maybe when it goes into combat, it kind of pulls out or pulls back. Who is to say? Who is to say? What's great about this game is even if it leaks and it turns out it sucks, they can never kill the game. Sony it's like Skull and Bones, but different. They can never kill Wolverine. Do you know why? Because he has a healing factor. You're just been a member. Culticalypso, 26 months. Thank you, good sir. Thank you, pal, for that. I appreciate it. He says this. He says, Jaffe, Valhalla looks interesting. I like the old Kratos more. Probably Atreus feels tropey because we've been playing just Kratos for more games, maybe. We've played less Last of Us, although they remade it X times. It's a good point in that Last of Us came out the gate as a co-op game. Although, I don't know. I mean, I think, if you would have had Kratos running around with some hyper sexy chick Kratos. I've seen women cosplay Kratos. It's pretty hot, actually. Maybe that, I don't think we would have minded as much, but I don't know. I mean, that's what's really interesting, because again, you've got, I'm going to get off this and move on, but I want to say this real quick. I've talked about this before. You have this industry where it's getting better with indies and double A's, where as you get older, there is an audience that's there now, whether you're talking artistic games or cozy games or action games like boomer shooters. But playing on this field, I think really requires a better job of, as it relates to God of War, of turning that nozzle down or that spigot down. So you get the personality of the team as you should, but you never lose sight of who your core audience is. Your core audience for God of War, I don't think gives a fuck about family in that way, or raising a kid. I don't think that's their core. It would be like, a director like Martin Scorsese making a Lethal Weapon movie or making an action film. It's like, I'm sure it would be interesting, but people who go to the action film don't want to see that. They want to see an action film. All right. Pablo says, goodbye. Goodbye. I hope you're doing well. I always hate it when somebody says goodbye like that, because I hope they're feeling good in their lives. I hope you're just saying goodbye because you're going to the bathroom or something. I agree, Lutron. I hope Wolverine's surprised with level of violence, 100%. Now listen. So here's the deal, though. I don't think it would hurt Sony, Wolverine, Insomniac, Marvel, what have you, if Insomniac says go fuck yourself, you can go jump in the fucking lava lake because we're not paying you for this shit. And they release all of it. Now, obviously, the stuff that's like personal information, that could be a problem. But, if they release the screenshots, the design document, early builds, all that shit, it's like it's early. And you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. A, they have enough time to make some changes if there are big story surprises. And B, even if they change nothing, their game will live forever. This will be a relic of the past. So I hope that they don't give in to these guys. I really, really do. Although somebody said at the auction, because like I said, if Insomniac or Sony doesn't pay $2 million, these guys have threatened, or not even threatened, they've said, we're going to go ahead and auction this shit off to the highest bidder. And somebody on Twitter was like, oh, I mean, it's shitty, but if you're Microsoft, I'd be going, guys, $8 million to know what Wolverine's going to be before it comes out. Come on now. I'd do it. I would do it. I mean, it's not illegal. Well, yeah, it is illegal. I wouldn't do it if it's illegal. It probably is illegal because you're buying stolen property. But short of that, if somebody out there bought it and then somehow, if they laundered it, right? So they could still get the data. Isn't that something? That's the world in which we live. Boogster, thank you, buddy. He has been a member of the Cult of Calypso for 7 months. Here's what he says to you guys. He says, I don't think Call of Duty's core audience has feelings or morals. I think some of us do, but a lot of them maybe not. Maybe not. I hear you, and thank you for that support, buddy. All right, let us move forward. Let's talk about the news of the day. E3. The Entertainment Software Association says after more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last. Well, that's not true. That's a goddamn lie. The time has come to say goodbye.
Go suck a big fucking dick.
And I want to talk about that. By the way, RPG, thank you for that. RPG says the guy that subbed on the other chat stream was Golden Arms PR. Golden Arms PR, thank you, buddy, for that support and being here as part of our community. I appreciate that. Welcome to Diet Soda Soldiers. You get a goddamn it Maverick, pal. That's what you get. So, and thank you, RPG. So E3 sleeps with the fishes, right? And I wanted to talk about this a little bit because I have some memories I want to share. I want to talk about E3 a little bit. I want to get a sense of what you guys think about E3 and how much you care if it's gone. I mean, E3 was around for 95, 2005, it's almost 30 years, right? And a lot changed over that time. But in its heyday, if you were around for it, I'm sure there's an aspect to it that you are feeling a little not melancholy, but sad about, because it was really cool as a fan. But in the last, 5-10 years, obviously there was no relevancy to it anymore. And so I don't think anyone is surprised by this news, but I do want to tell you, there's been a lot of people going around and, giving their thoughts on E3 and their E3 memories. And I did want to share some, because for me, my experience with it, and then I'll get to you guys. And I also want to see sort of what it was like at the fan level. For me as a developer, my experience with E3 is very, very different. I loved a lot of the stuff that maybe fans that just looked from the outside didn't really get to experience. Right. So I loved, discovering, like I say this a lot. One of the reasons I love the Steam sales, or any kind of demo event on console, but they're usually on Steam, is it feels like the days of old E3 where you could walk around the 3 halls and you would be surprised all the time, right? You go to E3, the last couple of E3s, you know every single game that's going to be there for the most part. That wasn't the way. Yeah, you had the big announcements, but then you would just 90% of what you saw, you discovered for the first time on the show floor. And some of it was really good and some of it was shit and some of it was in prototype form, but it was an amazing way to discover new video games. I loved that. But I've gotten it digitally, which is kind of like the theme here, right? Which is all the stuff E3 used to give us. You can get easier, cheaper, and better digitally, but we'll talk about that. I'm going to tell you three things I learned mechanically at E3. So I would walk around with like Mike Guillaume and members of the design team and Sony and stuff. And, you know, we would make a list the night before and we would go in with our notepads and it's like, we would meet up at lunch. Like, what did you see? What mechanic is cool? This, that, and the other. The three mechanic based things I saw at E3, I'll never forget this. The first one was Rainbow Six, the very first one, designed by Brian Upton. And if you saw Rainbow Six today and you saw that old one, hang on a second, you would absolutely have no idea they were the same game. But I had never seen this in a video game before. This was Brian Upton, I think he was giving the demo. And if you remember the first couple of Rainbow Sixes, it opened with a top-down isometric 3D view. And you could go in and tell all your AI, it's like, go here, breach this. It was like you had a big war map. And then you got to go into that in first person and actually live that. I had never seen that before. And I still remember just thinking that was the coolest fucking idea. And why didn't I come up with it? That was the first place. I mean, I know if you guys came up and you didn't, you know, you were little kids or you weren't born or whatever, when like, first Ocarina, but then I think Star Fox was the first one, 64. To do this, everybody knows now. It's like, oh, if you're fighting somebody in a melee game, press the button and it'll lock to them. No one had solved that. Miyamoto solved that with, I think it was called Z triggering. And that was the first time we were all sitting around playing Star Fox at E3 and going, oh my God. That's brilliant. I mean, obviously there were some camera problems we had to solve, but that was fucking brilliant. And the last thing I'll tell you that I loved about E3, it was the one in 96. So we had Twisted Metal 2 there, and it was the first time they brought out Mario 64, right? And Miyamoto with that game solved a lot of problems that game developers were struggling with, trying to figure out how do you do character action platform in 3D. Now you don't even think about it. But the one thing I took from it wasn't a specific mechanic. It was the fact that I saw people walking up, immediately playing it, almost immediately smiling and having fun and doing things and going, that accessibility means so fucking much. And so I went over and watched people playing Twisted Metal 2. And that's where the idea came from. I said, you know what? They were playing the lava level, if you remember that game. So people were jumping and catching a lot of air. And I remember saying, these people are struggling because they have to wait till they land to reacquire. And that's where the idea came up with of like, hey, let's let the people spin the car in the air. Even though there's no physics and there's no realism to account for that, if you're airborne in a vehicle with guns or anything, you want to rotate a little bit and reacquire before you land. And so it was that sort of Mario 64 sense of ease of play and friendliness of getting into that I encountered at E3. So that was really eye-opening. I'm going to tell you some more. You don't mind if I tell you some more, do you? Come on, I got to tell you. This is what I remember. These are the things that I loved about the show, okay? I remember games that never came out because you saw them at E3 and you never saw them before. The two that stand out the most to me, one was this game, and I cannot fucking find it on the internet anywhere. And I will give anybody, I'll give you a $20 PlayStation or Xbox gift card or Steam gift card if you can find video of this or a screenshot or just information, because it's gone with the fucking wind. And I can't give you the name of it. I think it was from a publisher called Core, who I think had something to do with the Tomb Raider series, but here's what it was. It was Dig Dug, if you remember the arcade game Dig Dug, but it was incredibly nasty and violent and gross because it was set inside someone's body and you were playing these kind of viruses that were going around eating the intestines and interiors of various living creatures and killing them. But it was Dig Dug basically. And boy, it was good and fun. And I could never find it again. The other one was, listen to this. This is crazy. I played a game at E3 that I loved the demo. It was a first person, I think, action adventure about this mother who descended into hell to get her baby back, which for some reason had gone to hell or had been kidnapped to hell. I don't know. And I was waiting for it to come out. The title was Lost or something, or The Lost. I don't know. And I just I never forgot about it, but I just, I guess it's not coming out. I guess it was canceled. Never heard about it again. And I'm at E3 many years later after God of War 1 and 2, and I'm sitting on a panel with Ken Levine, and I'm sitting on a panel with Todd Howard. And we're talking about all kinds of things. Jeff Keighley's hosting it. And I mentioned one of my favorite E3 memories was this game. And Ken Levine turns to me and goes, "That was my game." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" He's like, that was the game I was working on before BioShock. And I don't remember why he said it got canceled, but I was like, "Oh my God." He says, "Yeah, it was based on Dante's Inferno, but it was a modern twist on Dante's Inferno. And it was canceled. And that's why you never heard of it since." So that was, come on now. That was awesome. That was awesome. I remember this. Let me tell you something. This is outside looking in. I'm going to tell you what it's like to be on the inside, because when I'm on the outside of Hollywood, right? But when I was a kid or a teenager, a young adult, and I would see these pictures of, Oscar winners after the Oscars, Spielberg sitting with Scorsese, sitting with, Harrison Ford, and they were holding Oscars and they were drinking. And I was just like, that must be the coolest fucking thing in the world. And so I had the video game equivalent of that at E3, right? I was pitching a game. I was going around with my agent, and everybody was walking around. So we bumped into Notch from Minecraft. You remember that guy back in the day? And then we go into this party, and I sit down at a table, and it's me, Tim Schafer, Genova Chen of that game company, and there were like two other, I forget who they were, honestly, but they were big fucking names. And I remember going, "Oh, so this is what that's like on a video game level." And it was just like, eh. I mean, Tim's great. Genova's great. Now, I don't mean it was like their company was but I kind of thought it would feel more like when I see those pictures of these like rock stars of their industries, I thought it would feel more like that. And frankly, it was just us sitting at a table and talking. So that's all it was. Now, listen, I want to show you. I have some visual aids. For you right now. Would you like to see some visual aids? Here you go. Here we go. All right, hang on. Let me drink. I got to get it bubbly. Hang on. Nugget says, "I feel like we're at a funeral." We are at a fucking funeral. It's a funeral for, for the E3. This was, I think it was the 8th issue of Next Generation magazine. Okay. Which was really the magazine that a lot of us developers, wanted approval from, because they were the first magazine that really treated games seriously. And we were like, "Oh, we're artists, whatever." So this was their E3 issue. And obviously we didn't have the internet back then, or if we did, it was very nascent. And so you still waited with bated breath for the magazines after E3, because that's where you were going to get all the details and stuff that you didn't have time to see and whatnot. And so we go to the first E3. Twisted Metal 1, 1995 was the first E3. I still have the disc over there somewhere from Sony that we used that had the Combat Link cable and all kinds of stuff that's in that disc that never actually made it in the final game. And I'll get those super chats in a second. I'm not ignoring them. And so obviously the magazines start coming out. And so we are going, motherfucker, did they like us? Did they love us? Did they care? And I'm going through it. And this made me happy. And I've never forgot it, to the point that when I was putting this story together for the show, I'm like, let me go see if I can find that. And we didn't get a big write-up or anything like that. All we got was, there was a little thing over here on the left that's called Showstoppers. And there was Demolition Derby, Wipeout, and then there's Twisted Metal, there's Yellow Jacket. And it says, Wipeout and Destruction Derby from Psygnosis and Twisted Metal and ESPN Extreme from Sony grabbed the most attention for Sony. But it was just a little write-up. But that was fucking enough. That was fucking, I was in hog heaven, right? But this is the one. If you remember, there were two great issues if you used to read the magazines. The first one was the holiday issues. You'd get it in the mail or you'd get it at the store, and it was like a fucking phone book, beefy as fuck, because it was filled with ads. But then the other exciting issue was the E3 issue, because it was just incredibly thick with content. And this is the one from Donkey Kong Country. So this was 95. This was the very first E3. So you still have the Sega Genesis game. There's Vector Man that they showed. I'm trying to see. There's Bug. I want to see if Twisted Metal was in here. I don't even know if it was. Destruction Derby. Yeah, that was all they covered on their first E3. And then subsequently it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So that was a big part of it that I really enjoyed as well. So I'll tell you a few more. Let me get these super chats first, and then I want to tell you a couple more stories, and we'll move on. Then we'll move the fuck on, okay? But I do want to say, Stoner Joe, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, God of War Ragnarok sold 15 million copies. I know, it's fantastic. A lot of people loved it. Again, I have said numerous times over and over that I am in the minority when it comes to Ragnarok. I didn't like the pacing of it, and I don't really like the direction of the new God of War. But a lot of people adore it, and I think if they hadn't have changed it, it probably would be a dead franchise. Stoner Joe drops another super chat. He says, Jeffy, how'd the music in God of War come about? It was awesome. I designed the game with the team, listening to a lot of the Flash Gordon CD from Queen and tons of the soundtrack from Gladiator by Hans Zimmer, and a little bit of the soundtrack of The Mummy Returns from, I want to say Jerry Goldsmith, but that may not be right. And so that was sort of the sensibility musically of that first game. And so Sony has all these great internal music producers. And so what ended up happening was, they come to you when the time is right. It sounds so sensual. And they says, hey man, let's start talking about music for this thing. And so I gave them all those inspirations, and I said, this is kind of what I want. And that sort of, and then they just started finding musicians and creators who could do that. The Flash Gordon stuff only is in one part of God of War. If you remember the part where Kratos gets the Ark of the Covenant, Pandora's box, and he starts pushing it down the hall and taking it to the elevator before he goes outside and gets killed by Ares. All of that is that kind of synthy Queen, Flash Gordon, sci-fi space opera stuff. But everywhere else in the game, it was pretty much Mummy Returns meets Gladiator, is what I would say. Okay. George drops super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I loved E3 for what we had. Is it viable at the current stage of games in the same format? Discovery doesn't feel the same. I understand the nostalgia I feel for it. GDC feels better now. Okay, so it's thank you for the super chat. I'll tell you what's interesting about it to me when you say, is it viable? No, I don't think it is. But here's what I think happened. And here's what I think is really interesting about it. So if you've been to E3, whether you've worked it or you've been as a fan or you've been as press, the experiencing E3, like this on your screen, all the shit that you've seen, the crowds rushing into the Coliseum, what's it called? The convention center, and all of that, and just wall to wall and games everywhere and people who make games everywhere and props and statues and all that. That is its own piece of product that fans got to experience. But being at the show from the very first one was really hard. It's tons of walking. You can't hear, packed bodies that only got worse over the years. And it wasn't really the optimal situation to enjoy playing video games. And so what I think happened was you had two things kind of hitting at the same time. You had E3 getting more popular and thus more crowded. And as it got more crowded, it became worse and worse of an experience to go to. At the same time, you had the cost of promotion coming down. So you didn't have to use the internet. You didn't have to go to E3. You had digital taking over, so you no longer had to worry as much about let's use E3 to meet with the buyers from Target and Walmart and all these other places, which is one of the core reasons E3 originally existed, so that these guys, the buyers, would know, hey, Twisted Metal looks like it might be a good sleeper hit. Let's buy 50,000 copies for Babbage's or whatever. That was a big purpose of what it was for. That went away. So as the financial incentive to be there got worse, and the experience of being there also got worse, and the internet came along and solved both of those. Not so much for the fans watching at home necessarily, because I know they liked the circus of it. And the circus was fun at times. But what ended up happening was, if you can sell your games cheaper on the internet, and you can market cheaper on the internet, and you can also consume this shit, there's no reason to keep having it. That's probably why PSX folded. PSX went for 2 years. It was great. Never heard about it again. Probably just too expensive. It's not worth it. I will tell you, and again, I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert, blah, blah, blah ish. As a fan, I think E3 experience through the internet or PAX or any of these shows is so much better than being there in person. It's the difference between watching a movie about an adventure and going on the adventure. Going on the adventure is, I'm sweaty and I'm hot and I need to find a place to take a shower and I'm hungry and all the practical things of being at E3 that fans never had to deal with. They just got the good shit, right? Once I started watching it from home when I was doing this stream and I was watching IGN Live and all this shit, I was like, okay, this is the way to consume this shit. So I think your shit's gone forever. Obviously we'll get something like it in the metaverse. There will always be fan conventions, but I don't think getting companies to sort of spend the kind of ducats they were spending to come to this fucking thing. I think that's gone. Yeah. Hey, Living Legend. Thank you, buddy. Super chat. He says, hey, what's up, Jeffy? Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is one of the best 2D platformers of all time. Would be dope if we got DK Country remastered on Switch. I appreciate the super chat. B, I was incredibly disappointed by Tropical Freeze because I was so looking forward to it. And it looks so good. It still, to this day, looks so good. Beautiful fucking game. Great personality. But they tuned it to be hard as fuck. And I was just like, man, this is like a family game. I don't care if you have a hard mode, but come the fuck on. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I would love a remastered collection. I think that would be great. And I'd love that to be in there. But I do think my experience with that is tainted because it was just a little too hard. A little too fucking hard. Where did it go? Somebody said, it might have been Addy Pie. Somebody said, part of the fun of E3 is pushing through the crowds. That's part of the experience. That's a cab. Sorry. No, it's shit. It's absolutely shit. It's fine if it's like once or twice. Oh no, the door's open. Everybody's rushing for, I get it. But if that's what you're doing 90 goddamn % of the fucking time, just to get from one end of the goddamn show to the next, no, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Why are you getting ads? If you have YouTube Premium, you probably won't get ads. If you don't have YouTube Premium, that's a YouTube thing, not a me thing. Okay. I'll tell you the last thing I want to tell you, then we're gonna move on. I loved getting to the show early to play the Sony games and stuff. My favorite thing of E3 though, was the day before E3, because that was getting to go on the adventure and watch the adventure, right? We would leave Sony around lunch and we would spend the rest of the afternoon there. And because we had the badges of exhibitors, we could get in to anywhere on the show floor. And by that time, a lot of the games weren't turned on yet, but you could see all the booths almost being built, finished. You knew what was coming. Some things were turned on, and you really got this early taste of what the week was going to be. And it was not crowded, and it was air conditioned. And it was just a pleasant experience to just sort of, it was almost like window shopping in a small town. There aren't enough people to bother you, but you get that nice, charming and cozy, but still amazing feeling of, oh shit, that's coming. That was excellent. Absolutely excellent. The last thing is I said goodbye. I've told this story before, but it's worth repeating, today, when E3's gone. I said goodbye to E3 in 2005, and I remember this, and I remember this because I made sure to remember this. So I was there with my wife at the time. God of War had been there. It had done great. Couldn't have done better. Crowds couldn't have been greater, nicer. We got great feedback, great information to make the game better. It was the best we could have hoped for. And so it's the last day. My wife and I, she came to kind of see the whole thing. And then it's probably about 2 hours before they shut down and we're leaving. And I turn at the entrance to the hall because the Sony booth was massive, of course. And you could see the God of War. They had a Kratos 3D character, hanging from the ceiling or whatever above the booth. And I remember just taking it in and going, I want to be very present for this moment right now because I know, or I think I'm never going to be involved in something, at least in games this big again. I don't mean successful wise, but just, I knew it had wreaked havoc on my health and my marriage. And I was just like, I can't do it again. I don't want to do it again. And so, but I got to, there was a great old movie director called Eddie Dimitrick. And one of the things he said I never forgot, he taught at USC when I was there. He wrote this in his book as well. He says, when you're directing a movie, it may be your last movie you ever get to direct. You may have 50 more. He said, but being able to direct a movie is like being the quarterback on a football team and you get to run with the ball. And he said, every time you're doing it, never forget how fucking fun it is to run with the ball because you never know when it's going to be your last time. And I had that in my head as I was sort of just staring at this spectacle that was E3 and going, I really burned it into my brain consciously and it's still there. And it was exciting and sad. And I'm definitely having that feeling today. So I'm going to go to the chat and then we're going to move on and talk about some other video game news. Listen to this. Living Legend, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, one of my most memorable moments of E3 is E3 2008. Stop. Let me think. 2008. See, there was a point where E3 started being more about trailers. And this is something else that fucked him. I'm going to read the rest of your chat, but it's in my brain. I remember Mad Max was the Mad Max game was sort of the point where I said, fuck this bullshit. All of the crowds, all of the people, the expensive food, you get hungry, then you go wait in line for 40 minutes just to get a shit slice of pizza. It's bullshit. All of that. And instead of getting to play the games, they would start erecting these booths and you would wait in line forever to get in. And then they would just show you a fucking trailer and send you on your fucking way. That was the E3 experience. And every year you were getting more and more of that. And so I remember around 2008 to 2010, something like that, I stopped going. I really didn't give a fuck the last 5 or 6 years of E3 because E3 was not what it was anymore. E3 was literally going, standing in line. A lot of the time it would just be to watch a trailer. And I was just like, go fuck yourself. I'll do that at home. But anyway, Living Legend says one of my most memorables was E3 2008 when Stig and Todd Pappy played the God of War 3 demo on stage. Super thankful for the legendary PS3 memories. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I don't know if I honestly watched that press conference. I did enjoy the press conferences and I was in the audience when they did the press conference about, what was the thing? PlayStation $7.99, whatever it was, $5.99. And it was just like, I was sitting next to Shannon Studstill and, we got up and we were both just like, what in the fuck are these people thinking? We're going to have to go work somewhere else because this shit's going under. But yeah, that was a hell of an E3. All right. Ravnos, hey buddy, he says, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't E3 before the move from California industry only, no fans? Oh, okay. Just devs, publishers, and buyers. Yeah, at the very beginning, 95% of the time, E3 was just those people, the buyers, the game makers, and the press, of course. And then, when we would get people in, like I got my nephews in, or at least I got Scott in. I don't remember if Daniel came in Atlanta because they live in Alabama, or we would get friends in and stuff. But I would say 95% of it, the E3s were exactly as you describe. Absolutely. Frank Blasey says the E3 where Metal Gear Solid 2 was revealed was nuts. I was just reading Kojima's thoughts on this shutting down. And I remember this because obviously it was his game, so it's absolutely right, obviously. But I remember Konami, may they rest in peace, would run that MGS2 trailer. It was like every hour on the hour or every 30 minutes. So in those 3 days, because I know we had the internet, but it wasn't, I don't know, maybe if you were at the show, you didn't have a smartphone, they weren't out yet, so you couldn't just look at it. Point is, it was required viewing. And so, yes, everybody would sort of, I don't want to over dramatize it with language, but I will. Everybody at the show who gave a shit about video games, which is most of us, would make a pilgrimage to that booth to see it at least 2 or 3 times. And you would just be sitting there. And as that time drop got closer and closer, the crowds got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they would show it and everybody would lose their shit. And then they'd dissipate and go on and do their other shit. But absolutely, I remember that. Konami's dead in spirit. Simium. I don't mean it's actually dead. Okay. Oh, hey, there's Scott. There's my nephew. He says, thought I was going crazy thinking I had been to an E3 in Atlanta. Granny and Pa took me. Yeah, I remember we all met on the show floor. I don't think Daniel came. They did not. It was tough to get kids in. It was tough to get kids into E3 unless you were like a celebrity or you were part of the marketing group or whatever. But yeah, absolutely. I remember that. It was great. And then I know, I was going to say, then I don't know if you were with us, but I know if Granny and Pa brought you. There was one year we went, and afterwards, my mom and dad and Philip, maybe Scott, went and saw Batman and Robin. It came out on the day of E3. So anyway, okay. Celebrities at E3, I will tell you what was, it's kind of ironical. I know that's not the word. I know. I just like when they use it that way. I know it's ironical, but when Twisted Metal Black was on the show floor, that was the only time I ever saw a celebrity playing a game of ours. And it was Elijah Wood, which, I don't think in fact, I know the Lord of the Rings movies weren't out yet, but I knew who he was. And I was like, oh, I've seen some of his movies. He's cool. And I thought that was really cool. And then lo and behold, the next Twisted Metal we made was Sony produced by his brother, which I was just like, what? That's so weird, But the best celebrity experience was not mine. It was Ashley Morgan's, who was one of our great designers on God of War 2. I don't think she worked on God of War 3, but God of War 1 and 2 for sure. And I've told this story, and this is the last thing I'll say about E3 unless you guys want to talk more about it. But she's walking around E3 one year. I don't remember which year it was. It was clearly after 2005, though. And she's wearing her God of War development T-shirt for God of War 2, which I never would wear development T-shirts. I just always thought that was so cheeseball. Not saying she was cheeseball. She's a very fashion-forward lady, but devs like to wear their shirts around. I always thought that was dumb at E3. I wanted to blend in. I didn't want people to, it doesn't matter. The point is she's wearing the shirt, and this guy comes up to her and says, man, that game, God of War 1, because 2 had not come out, it was so fucking cool and so awesome and just raving about it. He had clearly played it, probably platinum the goddamn thing. I don't think there were platinums back then, but played the thing to completion, knew all about it. And just, it was clear for a moment, it brought the guy a lot of joy. And Ashley, that wasn't me. That was Ashley's experience, but she told it to me and I loved it. And it turned out that guy was Robin Williams. was an avid gamer. And, you know, when he died, when he committed suicide, you know, I just, that story kind of popped back up to my head pan because I was like, you know, I mean, look, you know, I'm sure there were millions of things that brought him pleasure, but for a guy who gave people so much joy in their lives, but was clearly in a great deal of pain at times, struggling with mental illness, it really meant a lot to me to hear that he had played something that we had made and it brought him a little bit of respite and a little bit of joy. So that's probably my favorite E3 memory, which isn't even mine. It's Ashley's, but it's so good I'm going to steal it from her. So, all right, there you go. That's E3. Let's talk about, well, let me have a little breather. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to clear my head. Let me make sure I got these super chats. If I missed your super chat, I'm sorry, but I think I got them all. And if I didn't, remind me. Okay. George, here's another super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, you need to tell the TM story of 2010 before closing the lid. The truck man. Oh. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you can see it on the internet, but yeah, I mean, it was, I lied like a motherfucker over and over. And I would and will. Yeah, my beard, it's the blue screen. I got to fix that. I'll fix it tomorrow. Here, go to Gabbin & Games, everybody. Buy Gabbin & Games for the holidays. It is a great product. Alex Plox and Gabbin & Games and a bunch of other God of War members. I need you guys to send me pictures that you want or video you want up on that screen. But right now I'm going to turn it off just because it is kind of probably distracting. And then I'm going to get back to the Twisted Metal thing. Let me change just the webcam real quick. So now you'll see. And it's not actually a green, it's a green screen or it's a blue screen. Should be a green screen, frankly. There we go. All right, that should be better now. Okay. But yeah, so we're in the truck and well, if you are a God of War member, send me whatever you want. I mean, part of being, you know, you can promote whatever you want. I'll read whatever you want if it's, you know, within terms of service. So anyway, okay. So I'm in the truck. We lied to everybody. They're like, are you making Twisted Metal? No. And yeah, you know, I remember it was Scott McCarthy who was the marketing guy. He's like, let's build a truck and drive it on stage. And I never thought we would get that kind of support for a Twisted Metal game, but yeah, it was great. It was fun. But again, what I will tell you is, the experience of it, and I don't mean it was work. I'm not one of these people that were like, oh, I'm not trying to make it dramatic, like, oh, it might have been fun to watch, but it was hard work. It was really hard work, all of it, but it was also really, really fucking fun. And so I don't regret it. I don't look back at it like, oh man, no, it's hard. Loved it. I loved it, but it was a very different experience than it was from people watching it, of course. You know, it felt like, it felt like a really fun fucking job and it was exhausting, but it was great. But yeah, that truck is, maybe I'll put a compilation together. I've told stories before. Did E3 do awards? Let me tell you the other, okay, I'm going to tell you one more E3 thing. I promise I'll move on. But this was a great lesson at E3. When you're saying, did E3 do awards? What you learn at a show like E3 on the whole, not as it relates to your individual video game, but on the whole, is that if a game does well at E3, it doesn't mean it will do well on the market, because playing a game at E3 is a very different experience. And I'll tell you 3 of these. One was a game called Kick Dive, which was a game where all you did was kick the other guy with one button. It was surprisingly deep, and it was made by some competitive fighting gamers, and it was good. And but you would have thought, being at E3, that this game, Dive Kick is what it was called. Sorry, yeah, absolutely. You would have thought, being at E3, that this was going to be the next Minecraft. It had people crowded around it all the time, laughing, shouting, coming back to play multiple times. But then it comes out and it's crickets. Dreamcast had the best booth at E3 their second year, PS2's first year. And I remember I was having a meeting with Tim Schafer up in the cafe area that they built above the Sony booth. And we were talking about Psychonauts. He was trying to figure out where he wanted to make Psychonauts. And right across, we could see the Dreamcast booth. And boy, I'll tell you, it was, and I had already been playing in it for 2 days, and it was just filled with great arcade games. It was, you had Space Channel 5, and you had Sama de Amigo, and you had a new Virtual Fighter, and there was the Virtual Cop 2, I think. I mean, just everywhere you looked was a great fucking awesome game. And I was like, we're the goose is cooked. We're dead. And then it turns out nobody bought the Dreamcast, because playing those games on a show floor like E3, those little bite-sized games are perfect. But playing them at home for 60, 50, 40 bucks, it didn't translate. The last one, which I'm sure you got, Power Stone. You goddamn right, Dave Goodrich. Power Stone was there. And when I saw Sega doing their Streets of Rage at Keeley's show, for a brief moment, I thought, is this going to be like Power Stone? Because it's a sort of isometric 3D. It's not a side-scrolling beat-em-up. So my eye is being kept on that. But the other one that you will absolutely remember, I think, is more recent, which is the game Evolve by Turtle Rock, I think. Those aren't, I think they did, what did they do before that? But anyway, that was the game where one person played a monster, everybody else trying to kill the monster, async multiplayer. And I remember walking over to their booth towards the last day where awards were handed out. And there were these ribbons, and every outlet had their own little thing, whether it was a ribbon or a funny picture or whatever. And their wall was just packed. I mean, I had never seen a game win so many goddamn awards in my life. And it was like, what the fuck must that feel like? And the team was tweeting out pictures, and you were like, whoa, that's going to be the hit game. And if you were a buyer at the time, you probably would have thought the same thing, going, shit, that's the game to buy. But they did Back for Blood, but they did something before Evolve, Awesome Tatum. But it turns out the game came and went, and as Left Control says, it died quickly. So it was really fascinating that just because it was a hit at E3 didn't necessarily mean much anything. George Shrub Super Chatty says, I saw multiple shows, like internet shows and stuff, where you lied, Jaffe. Invisible Walls on the show with Jeff Gertzman. He would ask you and you would say no. You made me really happy, man. I even shot the truck later from Venezuela. Hey, you gotta, my job, people are like, it's so funny. I always say this now, but it's just like, my job was not, I don't work for the press. I'm not a politician or in the government where my job is to sort of, if I don't tell them things that are accurate, people could get into a lot of trouble and die. My job is to entertain with the games and with how we announce the games. So you goddamn right, I lied. Did I order the code red? You goddamn right I did. So yeah, that's what I would say. Gertzman interviewed Jaffe. I've been on panels with Gertzman a lot. There was an E3 around 2013, I think, or 12, where the Giant Bomb guys rented this house in like around downtown LA. So it's not the safest fucking place in the world. But they were broadcasting live for like 4 days from this house. And I went on one of the nights, and Gertzman was there, and Ryan Davis, who was really the only guy from Giant Bomb that I really ever thought was just, he was a real sweet, nice guy. And I always liked dealing with Giant Bomb when he was there. Again, I may be best friends in the future with Gertzman. I always got the sense he just did not like me. And the Giant Bomb guys did not like me, but that was a nice interview. And that was, that was something we did, one of the E3s as well. So yeah, Ryan Davis was cool, man. I agree. Elusive Dan. Okay. Let us move forward. Frank Blasey, Jaffe must have chose moderate. What do you mean? I don't understand. What did I choose? Premium, no ads. All I did with the ads is, look, YouTube is running ads, fellas. And they say to me, okay, do you want us to put the ads in, or do you want to manually do it? I'm like, I'm fucking doing a show. You put the ads in. And then it says, okay, how often do you want to give somebody one ad? I said, they give me a choice, like 6 options. And I says to them, one ad every 24 minutes. Cause it's like, it's like a sitcom. You get like 20 ads every 24 minutes. I figure, all right, one ad for 24 minutes of content, that'll work. And so I don't know why you're getting 6 or 7 so far. I don't think we certainly haven't been on the air to merit that. But I'll check into it. Listen to this. I'm excited. I went back and I tried to play Starfield. I already finished it. I did New Game Plus. Really enjoyed it. But other games came along, and I kind of, you do that thing where you sort of get busy with other games, and when you come back, you're kind of out of the groove. I don't know if you guys saw that Sony filed a patent a couple of days ago, and I love this. I think this is absolutely fucking brilliant. And I'm stunned that they're going to patent it, but it's needed, which is, it doesn't seem like something you could patent. But anyway, it's something that lets them judge how long you've been away from the game. Oh, you mean a timer? Real innovative. And then the game does 2 things. The game, using AI, will cut together a trailer, if you want to watch it, of like previously on. So if you were playing Bloodborne, but you've been away for a week, a month, whatever, like with Starfield, I was away for about 2 months. It would be like, oh, previously on Starfield, right? The other thing, though, that the patent that Sony filed talks about is that the game will actually, this is great. The game will adjust. And I don't know if this is like any developer can use it, or it like sits at the meta on top of the PS6. And so everyone is going to have to deal with this. I don't know. But the game adjusts difficulty, and I imagine a number of checks that the developer can say, here are the 8 things that we feel will make re-entry better. So maybe unless you turn it off because you're just playing core, it will make enemies a little easier, not forever, just for like that first X number of minutes, so you can kind of get reacclimated. And they really want to work to ease you back in, because they know that, these games are long. And so they're adjusting, the way people play games that are long to make the games better. I think it's excellent. Sly says it sounds like a good idea that wouldn't be incredibly annoying. Well, I imagine you could skip the previously on, because it's just a cutscene. But I think the difficulty adjusting, maybe that's up to the developer to do, but I think, I agree with Gravedigger. He says, I haven't heard about this, but I love it. I do that all the time. And then I end up not finishing the game because I don't know what's going on. Right. I was so fucking deep into Starfield. And I went off and played a bunch of other shit. And before you know it, I'm like, wait, what am I doing? And how does all this shit work? And so it's hard for me. I haven't gotten back into it. But I bring it up because Bethesda put news out today that starting in the new year, they're going to be releasing every 6 weeks more content patches, right? Here's what they say is going to be at the beginning of the year, which sounds pretty fucking good, and I'm definitely going to get back into it. This is a quote from the folks at Bethesda. We're also hard at work on many of the new features you've asked for. City maps, mod support, to all the new ways of traveling, so stay tuned. I'm assuming we're going to get vehicles or land speeders or something. These will be rolling out with regular cadence of fixes and updates we expect to have roughly every 6 weeks. And that will be starting in the new year. So Silver Joystick says, get back into Starfield for what? For what? Because there's tons of content I haven't experienced yet. I went through the main story, and then I got into New Game Plus, and I've been playing it, but then I got sidetracked. So I haven't done a lot. I haven't done any of the clan missions or whatever you call them. It is, there's a lot more to experience. And I actually hear that some of these side missions are better than the main mission, which I adored. Jaffe, that's why I don't rush to play the game. I'm waiting for next year when I can enjoy better experiences. Alex, that makes sense. That's cool. Guys, I like Starfield. I don't care if you don't like Starfield. It doesn't matter to me. I really enjoy it. And I've made a whole video about why I enjoyed it. And maybe, I'm in the minority, and that's fine. Listen to this. It just felt a little weird. It just felt a little weird to me. Indiana Jones, they were talking to the Disney head of gaming. And one of the things he said about Indiana Jones, he made it clear that Indy is going to be exclusive. It was originally developed for PlayStation and Xbox and PC. Now they're saying, nope, it's confirmed. It's going to be Xbox and PC. He says, Xbox still being one of the bigger marketplaces for games, we didn't feel like we were going to be overly exclusionary. We felt like it's still going to reach a broad set of folks. And we felt financially and strategically for the game that it made sense at the time. And I'm great. I think, at the moment, it won't always be this way, but at the moment, exclusives still matter. The headline, a lot of headlines have been kind of like this, where this is my favorite news site, Video Games Chronicle, but they say the company's head of gaming thinks omitting PlayStation didn't feel overly exclusionary. He didn't say that. He kind of said that, but the headline is a little misleading. But it's like, when I started reading this, it's, maybe their job, they do want to, stir up debate and anger, because I'm like, you know what? If you're a fucking PlayStation fan at this point and you're bitching that you don't get every game while you've been the recipient of some of the best exclusive games ever made, come on. Fuck off. Fuck off. Let some other people get some of the fucking gold too. But again, if you care enough to be watching this show, you probably own both of them anyway. And I'm very much looking forward to Indiana Jones. Like I said, I've been watching Dial of Destiny again. I'm starting to have second thoughts about how much I hated it. Now I'm like, this is actually, I haven't finished watching it yet, but I'm excited. But this is the weird one. There's some weird stuff that happened at Keighley's show. Everybody knows that Blade is coming. People are more excited about Blade than I understand. I like Blade. Wait, hang on. Cosmic Bandito says, how is leaving it out not exclusionary? It is exclusionary. Is that the right word? Exclusionary. But he didn't say, he says it's not overly exclusionary. So yes, by the definition, the vocabulary suggests that it is exclusionary. Anytime that you create something that no one gets, some people don't get, you're excluding them. But he's basically saying it's not overly. Tekken 8 is a PS8 exclusive, asked Lutron. I don't know. Okay. But Blade. Yeah, Blade's a third tier character. I mean, look, I like Blade. I like him in the movies. I like him in, what was the game from last year? Dark Suns, the RPG game. He's a cool character. I dig him. I'm just surprised that it's getting this much interest. But anyway, it is weird that Xbox has not come out and sort of said this is exclusive. I noticed a couple of things at Keighley's show like this. One was Midnight Suns, right? One was, thank you, Silver. One was certain games, specifically this one. I think there were a few more that did not say this was exclusive, which is weird. The other one was I saw a number of trailers for Xbox, which were clearly Xbox exclusive and or Xbox funded, which I guess makes them exclusive. But they didn't have day one or any Game Pass branding, which is really fucking weird. Because I've often worried that what they will do is eventually start going, okay, we're going to do like Sony's doing. We're going to have 2 tiers of Game Pass. Right? So there's Game Pass Plus or Ultimate, which they have, and then something else, and only Ultimate gets day one. Or maybe no one gets day one, but if you have Ultimate, you get it a month later or whatever. I just wonder if that's where they're going with this, because it's one thing, I mean, it really does beg the question of, they're not idiots. They wouldn't have forgotten to stick a only on Xbox stamp on Blade. And they certainly wouldn't have forgotten to put a Game Pass sticker on some of their shit. So I don't understand what is going on with that. Jagger said, yeah, earlier today there was a new Blade trailer. Is it a new Blade trailer that apparently came up today? Lux says they refused to comment on it when asked. I mean, it could be like the MLB deal. It could be like, yeah, they're publishing it, but Marvel's like, we'll let you have Blade, but you've got to put it on everything. And maybe they just haven't figured out how to spin that or how to message that. Torino says, Jaffe, you're not in the minority. 30 million sold and 12 million playing on Game Pass. You're talking about Starfield. I'm on New Game Plus. I've been to a universe where there's no Constellation. I've been in almost every faction. Yeah, it's, I think it's a great fucking game. I love it. I absolutely love it. But I get there are people who don't, but I'm with you, man. Absolutely. Charles says, sorry, but Blade is going to be exclusive to Xbox. Who are you saying you're sorry to? I don't give a fuck. I don't care where they put it. I'm just saying, I think I'm bringing it up because it's weird. It's a weird exclusion, that they don't tell you it's exclusive. And it's a weird exclusion that a lot of the games that they showed the other night do not have Game Pass. Alex says, Jaffe, whose decision is it? Disney's or Bethesda's to have an exclusive on Xbox? Well, I mean, that's Disney's. No, sorry. I mean, it depends. In this case, I imagine Arcane Lion said, we want to do Blade, or Bethesda or Phil Spencer or somebody at Microsoft said, we want to do something with Marvel. They had a meeting. Marvel said, here's some things we've got. They looked at all the work they've done on the Deathloop engine and said, we could really build off this as a foundation to make a great Blade game. That's how it usually works, but you never know. So then from there, they're like, okay, we'll pay you, I don't know, $6 million for the rights to make Blade. And then maybe Disney says, well, you can have it for 15 if it's exclusive. But if it's not exclusive, we'll give it to you for 6. Or you can have any character that's open, but we're not doing exclusives with Microsoft. I have no idea. I have no fucking idea. I wonder if this will come out the same time as Wolverine. Can you imagine? Because they're very similar characters in some ways. I'm a comic guy. I'm not, he has a healing thing. I get it. They have different powers, but they're melee-based close combat brawlers. Yes, he has guns, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Silver Joystick says, I do not trust Arcane to make Blade. They will turn it into Dishonored. I do trust them to make something interesting with a superhero, though. Because, I don't want just another superhero brawler, right? I want a Marvel adventure, and I think Arcane's suited for that. So listen to this. Golhar Hermie. I want to be a dentist. My name is Hermie. God of War's new Valhalla DLC proves that the remake of God of War 1 is coming, and you, Jaffe, know this and is participating in the development, but you can't say anything to us. I think that's exciting. I have not heard about it. I'm certainly not working on it. And I haven't played the DLC. So I did see the commercial where the Cyclops came out, which was interesting, although it didn't look next-gen Cyclops. It looked like a fucking old, like a PS4 graphic Cyclops. But it's interesting, though. Maybe, I'd love to see that, but we'll see where it goes. Okay. I got to buy a new monitor tomorrow. This monitor cracked. Okay. I couldn't get into Deathloop. Darth Nugget says Deathloop was great with a weak ending. A lot of people loved it, but it wasn't my cup of tea. Listen to this. Let's talk about Kojima and his games. 2 new little pieces of news. The first one I thought would be bigger news, but it's pretty interesting and exciting. So Kojima tweets out, and I'll get to Kojima in a second. Listen to this. Every new reveal, says Bookster, every new reveal Xbox has ever done has not said day one on Game Pass. I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying you're lying, but you might be lying, or you might just be misinformed. Give me an example. Victor, though, says this. He says, Blade would still come to Game Pass Ultimate regardless. Many think the FTC appeal is why they didn't say platforms. Okay, But then why didn't they say Game Pass? Right? I mean, that isn't that weird? Isn't that unusual? Okay, let's talk about Kojima. I thought 2 pieces of news dropped, but they both didn't get, one got coverage, the other one not really. But Kojima tweets this out the other day. After OD, which is obviously the horror-looking game that he's doing with Microsoft in the cloud. In addition to Jordan Peele, he says, let me put it up on the screen, you can see it. In addition to Jordan Peele, all right, hang on, Bookster. I will be working with a variety of creative storytellers on the OD project. Over the past few years, I have traveled the world. He's so full of himself. Like Takashi Shimura in The Search of the Seven Samurai. So I don't know if he's saying that this is almost like going to be an anthology and there's like 7 stories that are all tied together, or when he says the OD project, because it's not called OD project, right? It's called OD. Maybe it's like, the game is being made with Jordan Peele, but the OD project has a graphic novel and it's got a movie and it's got this. And so maybe that's what he's talking about. But it is interesting that he's got 6 other, it's like the Avengers of creatives that he's got together, and they're all contributing in some way to this. Well, this is even better. Fonzie Lopez says, good Lord, Kojima can say a lot of shit without telling you a damn thing. Right. Well, this is the better one. At first I thought these were just like subtle. These are just subtle. But there's an article that says fans noticed Silent Hill references in Kojima's OD trailer. And at first I was kind of like, all right, well, maybe it's just people are reaching, right? But when you look at actually what it is, in this guy's mouth on the screen, it's these 2 guys that were yelling and talking. There are certain times where you'll see a little letter appear in his mouth. And if you put the letters together, it spells out Atami. And according to this, Atami is a prefecture in Japan. It is written in a certain way in Japanese, and separately those 2 words literally translate as quiet or silent and hill, respectively. So, now again, Kojima is a little trickster character. So this doesn't mean shit. It could mean that he's just, that's the only thing that bothers me. Oh yeah, Brett Moore says I was trying to see what was reflected in their eyes. The girl had a door. She has the same door, it looks like, that Kojima came out of, which was a door in PT apparently. But I mean, the thing with Kojima though, there's a point where, it's almost like somebody needs to tell him to get a new shtick. I don't mean in his games, but the whole marketing thing, like I'm going to drop all these crazy hints and get people guessing. It's not that it's crying wolf. It's not that it's a bad thing he does, but it's gotten to the point where it's just like, okay, whatever. Because nothing ever comes out. Nothing ever comes out of those teases like, oh my God, that was this. It's always some weird fucking subtle bullshit. And so I'm not really all that interested. I mean, I'm interested in the game, but I'm not interested in kind of going down this rabbit hole of solving it. But, if he was a normal human being, you would wonder why he's basically tweeting out Silent Hill. Maybe he's just poking the bee's nest with Konami, given that the guy that he butted heads with is still the president of Konami. I have no fucking clue. But there you go. That's happening as well. When will Jeff be in one of his games? Jeff was in Death Stranding, Brett Moore. Fonzie says they're never add up to anything meaningful, just so he thinks he's clever and cute. Yeah, it's kind of annoying unless it really does pay off. Lovitz, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I don't understand it, but that's nothing new coming from you. I just never know what the fuck you're talking about, sir, but thank you for the ducats. He says, what do you need $5 for? Another coffee, Jaffe? I didn't say I needed $5. But I did get this coffee yesterday. You know what my dad used to do when I was a kid and never understood it? He used to get coffee, David Lovett's channel, from anywhere, McDonald's, wherever he went. And he'd come home with it. He hadn't finished it, and he'd put it in the refrigerator. And then the next day he'd wake up. You goddamn right. The next morning, now it's weird that one played, but the other ones didn't. The next morning he would wake up and he'd heat it up in the microwave, like it was brand new. And I was like, that seems so fucking disgusting. And but now I do it all the time, and I love it. There's nothing like a peanut butter sandwich and day-old coffee heated up in the microwave. Come on now. Ravno says Kojima knows his rabid fans are all into the AR stuff. I mean, I get it, but there's a point where even they're going to go, okay, dude, just show us some fucking, give me some fucking games, man. Give me some fucking games. Atticus says, Jaffe, even though you can't speak on the God of War project, are you bringing T.C. Carson to voice young Kratos in your remake? I'm not doing anything with God of War right now, man. But would I? Probably, yeah. If he could sound young enough, sure. My biggest issue, says Ravnos, with Kojima is his obsession with star fucking. Him and Jeff should get married. They're perfect for each other as they both worship celebs. Kojima I would agree with. I don't think that's Jeff. I mean, I don't know Jeff that well, but I know him. Jeff, more and more, strikes me as just an incredibly smart business guy. I'm not saying he's not good at what he does with the show, but he does, he's got his eyes on the prize constantly. So if part of it is having some stars out there and it works, and it helps sell more tickets and make more ducats, then that's what he'll fucking do. And I get that. It's not what I would do, but I respect that level of hustle and what he's trying to achieve. So, but Kojima, I agree with. I saw something today where on Kojima's, if you go to Hideo Kojima's Twitter, he said something that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I mean, whatever. He's Kojima. He's a legend. I'm just me. But I'm saying, though, here it is. He said, just announced my new game, OD. I just hate that. It's not, I mean, yes, I get it. It's branding, it's marketing, but you have a whole team. Our new game. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying the man isn't an auteur. He doesn't put his stamp on things and all that, but it kind of perpetuates some of this bullshit, that I'm not a fan of. Master Luke says, speaking of come on now, where's my drawing on your new set? You mean, where's my note so you can make a drawing? I don't draw. I have your drawing hanging up on the wall that you did of Come On Now. I think you can see it. Where is it? Where the fuck did it go? Oh, it's up there. It's right above Sweet Tooth. Okay. Why does Jeff sounds like he's about to burst when he brings Kojima out?
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
So, I don't fucking know. I don't know. They're friends or a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I've heard people speculate maybe they're more, maybe they are. I don't know. Why have Ken Levine or Brian Fargo on stage when you can have Timothée Chalamet or Jordan Peele? Look, the deal with that, though, is the same as it's ever been, right? Jeff used to host the Spike TV Awards. When it was on, again, he's going to have to be careful. And I know he knows this. He's a smart guy. But first off, let's be clear. Nobody gives a fuck about the awards. That's not why they're watching it, okay? And so it wouldn't surprise me if he eventually says, let's do that different. And let's make this the coming attraction show or whatever. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But Chalamet's on there so he can get more people watching, just like Spike TV did it when they would bring out Samuel Jackson on the fucking show. And that wasn't, and maybe that's been Jeff's plan from all along, is to kind of give you the Spike TV Awards with less cringe and maybe 25% more actual love for game development. But I think that this was the first year where I think that line, a lot of people noticed that it was like, okay, this is bad. Not the show, of course, but the perception of this is all horse shit. It's not really about the gamers, which is fine. I mean, again, no one, look, the Oscars, I had a debate online with somebody the other day. The Oscars have taken a page out of the Keeley book. Last year, and I don't know if this is going to be a pattern, but I hope it is, because the ratings on all these other award shows are collapsing. and they have been for a decade. And Keeley shows going up. Last year at the Oscars was the first time ever on the stage as part of the show, they showed a movie trailer. It was for The Little Mermaid. And they kind of couched it in like, oh, it's the anniversary of Disney or whatever. It was a fucking trailer. I'll tell you what. If the Oscars started going, yes, we're going to give out awards, of course, but this is also where you come to see the new Star Wars trailer, the new Marvel trailer, the new whatever, Dune trailer, all the biggest and coolest and newest trailers that do not leak onto YouTube until the next day, and you can only see them at the Oscars, people would fucking watch. People would fucking watch that shit more. I would. I love movies, but the Oscars, I can't sit through the whole show anymore. It's stupid. But anyway, there you go. That's what's happening with good Sir Kojima. Let's see. Give me a minute. Just looking at these other stories, but some of these I might save. I'm going to save that. I'll talk about this one real quick. This is kind of as annoying to me. Nah, I'll save it. You're like, what the fuck, Jaffe? I'm just saying, I want to make sure I get to the big news today. People were asking about the day before. I don't know what to tell you. Look, somebody came on this stream. That sounds filthy. And somebody came on the stream and is like, 8 months ago, have you seen the day before? Have you seen the day before? It looks amazing. It's incredible. And I saw the trailer, we watched it on stream. I'm like, it's pretty cool. We'll see if it actually looks that way, blah, blah, blah. If you don't know, the game came out. It got a 1 out of 10 from IGN. The CEO has gone dark. They are refunding people's money, and the company is closed down 2 days after the game launched. And so someone's saying, have I talked about the controversy? I mean, there's no controversy. They just shat the bed. And it looks like they shat the bed without intending to. I don't think it's like a, take the money and run deal where the CEO was like, let me steal some ducats and get out of here and head down to Mexico before they can catch me. So I don't know really what sort of controversy there is there other than just like, that's interesting. Like I would like to know what happened. I would like to know that, like for some reporter to get in there and figure out, when did they know this was their game, or was this like, oh my God, we're just bad at this? I don't know. Living Legends, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Jaffe, have you played RE4 on VR2? Really enjoying it. No, I have played RE4 on MetaQuest and I liked it, but I don't have a VR2 and I have no plans to buy one. But I hear it and Village are, because Village is on there too, right? Village is just the knees bees on that fucking thing. Darth Nugget says the day before was primarily made by volunteers, apparently anyway. Bukaki says it was originally free to play, so the bait and switch was odd if they weren't going to just take the money and run. That is weird. Interesting. I wonder why they switched it. Okay. Gravedigger says there's a lot to it. Supposedly the game was made with assets that released less than a year ago, but supposedly development was for 5 years. Maybe they remade it when Unreal 5 came out. It's still the same game. It was a scam. You do not erase yourselves if it was not a scam. Yeah, Ravnos, but that reminds me of like, I don't know if you ever saw I'll get to you, Bookster. I don't know if there's the old Dana Carvey show where he had him and Steve Carell played these two idiots that thought they were doing these pranks, and they would go up to things like a movie theater and they would say, okay, we want 2 tickets for the 12 o'clock show. And they'd give the guy their money, and then they'd run away and leave before the guy gave them the tickets, or the guy at the drive-thru gave them their food. And they thought they had gotten one over on them, and they just thought it was the funniest thing. And what was funny about it is they're fucking idiots. So if this was a take the money and run deal with the day before, I assume they wouldn't be giving refunds. So I don't know what's going on. Actually, sorry, not Bukaki. That was from Ravnos. So I wonder if they missed the mark, says Frank, with their marketing budget. I saw Dr. Disrespect stream the game, and I can only imagine he was well paid. Oh my God, yeah. Oh my fucking God, yeah, of course. All right, let me see if I'm going to bring these stories up. If not, let me bring Bookster in. I was going to talk about the IGN story where they're like, here's how to cancel PlayStation, and it got a bunch of Xbox fans, up in their shit. But I'm not going to talk about it really, because it turns out they've been running a series of articles, how to cancel your Apple subscription. Today they put out how to cancel your PS Plus subscription. I don't know why. I don't know if they're just thinking, oh, this is, there's value here because a lot of people are asking about it, and let's write a series of articles, and it'll be an evergreen series that people can keep coming to. But it turns out that here it is right here. If you want to see a picture of this guy on Twitter, NIB says, seems like an IGN series. But Xbox fans, please let the salt and conspiracy theories continue. So they wrote one in September about Apple canceling, Disney canceling, Amazon Prime, Netflix. So, okay. It was, here's how to cancel Game Pass today. Well, here's what it was. And I guess you think that matters? It just says this. Here's how to cancel your Game Pass subscription is what it says. It doesn't say today. Is canceling that difficult? I don't think so. But there are certain subscription services that are very difficult intentionally to mess with, which drives me. Hulu is one of the worst. And I love Hulu, but I think it's Alt Hacker says, or Ad Hacker says, it's a useful article. I tried to cancel my PS Plus last February, but it's still renewed after I chose to cancel. How to cancel IGN, says Elusive Dan. How long till they disappear? I don't know. It's a huge website still, but we'll see. Eddie T says Xbox fanboys are extremely sensitive. They're all extremely sensitive. It's ridiculous. All right, let me bring in Bookster real quick. Hang on. Bookster, what's going on? Thanks for waiting. What do you want to talk about?
I just wanted to, so on the Game Pass thing for all the turrets, what I was trying to say there is, if you go and look back at...
Wait, let's just stop for a second. Let's bring people up to speed. So you're talking about when you were saying, I was confused because all these trailers in the last years have been like played on Game Pass. And you're saying not every first-party Xbox exclusive title has said that, right? And I said, I don't know if that's true. And now you're calling in to tell me that it is true, and here's proof, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. If you look at, and this is exclusive to the Game Awards, if you look back at the original Hellblade 2 trailer when they premiered it with the Series X, there was no title card there that said, play it day one on Game Pass. And then the same is also true for Perfect Dark, which if that game ever comes out, which is also a first-party Xbox game. So, well, I mean, they could have changed their mind or whatever. All I'm suggesting is that when they announced...
Hang on a sec. Are you guys not able to hear him now, or you can hear Bookster? Is he? He's under blankets. So his parent... Hang on, Bookster. Let me... can you guys not hear him? I turned him up.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that's better. What'd you do?
I stopped walking around.
Well, now you were loud for a second. Now you're not loud anymore.
How about this?
That's great. Whatever it was you just did was better. Okay. So, well, what he said, though, if you didn't hear him, was he says, Perfect Dark, when they dropped that trailer, and then before that, Hellblade 2 didn't have it either. And so, but Game Pass obviously was out by then, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Basically, what I personally think it is when they announce these games that are like probably 3 or 4 years away, they're not throwing play day one on Game Pass in case they change their mind or whatever in the future.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to hang up because the call's really bad, but I'm going to talk about that for a minute. Thank you, Bookster. Thanks for waiting, man. He's saying that maybe what it is that if the game is far out, they want to not put it on there because who knows what'll happen in 3 or 4 years. Maybe Game Pass is gone, or maybe Game Pass is existing, but they've moved it out. And so games don't drop day one or whatever. And so, maybe, I don't know if it's legal so much as just covering your ass when it comes to like, you said this was going to be Game Pass 4 years ago and now it's not, it's possible, but that's a little weird. That is a little weird that as much as they're pushing Game Pass, it doesn't say Game Pass, but it is what it is. All right, fellas, let me go to the chat, then we're going to wrap it up for the evening. I want to let you know, like I said, good Sir Adam Sessler is coming on tomorrow to talk. No, not tomorrow, next week. Coming on next week, Tuesday, to talk games and all kinds of cool stuff. And then, let's see, I will be playing tomorrow, and I'll be giving away some free codes for Drug Dealer Simulator 2. And then... later in the week, I'll show you, I want to show you this because I think it'll be fun. Maybe it won't. You let me know. Later in the week, we're going to be doing a, hang on, let me bring it up. Everybody can watch the stream, but it's only members chat. And I just think, basically what it is, I'm still putting it all together, but the gist of it is this. Hang on. Yeah, Drug Dealer 2. Drug Dealer Simulator 2 is very much a real thing. Okay, hang on. So this is kind of what I'm working on. So later in the week, we're going to go through all of the trailers at the Game Awards. I'm going to give it a rating, the Diet Soda Soldiers, the Cult of Calypso, the God of Wars, and the mods. And then we're going to end up with, the average. And then we're going to see sort of what people are most excited about. And I'm using it as an excuse to basically rewatch the trailers because I didn't pay attention to them all that much when we were getting high. So if you were a member or if you were interested in debating and discussing all of the trailers, and they're all fucking here, this will be happening sometime in the next 7 days, but I'm not entirely sure when. So if you're interested, I'll be there doing that. And then we'll be doing more of these normal Gabbing Games, blah, blah, blah. So, but that's it. That's it. That's Gabbing Games for, what is it, Tuesday? I appreciate it. What is today's? Where are you? What's the problem? I appreciate you hanging out with me, spending some time. And it'll be this week, Lutron. Whether or not it's the weekday or weekend, I don't know yet. RPG, thank you for modding. Bukaki, I'll reach out to you about the next show, see if we can hook up together. The schedule for the week, I got to finish some videos tomorrow, and I'm streaming that game. I'm hoping for another Gabbing Games on Thursday. If it's not Thursday, it'll be Friday. And then I want to do this ranking thing with the members. So, I'll let you know. But I'll be more consistent than a year once all these doctor's appointments wind up. So be well, everybody. Be safe. Have a good rest of your night. And I'll chat with you guys really, really soon. And here is our good friend and God of War member, if I can find it. Hang on. Good Sir Alex Plox. See you guys.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.